Hi everybody, welcome back to Brells for Family Homestead. I'm Darcy. Today I'm going to show you the setup that Joe and I use when we are processing our chickens after butchering day. So we'll be cutting up the chickens into various parts, the boneless, skinless breasts, boneless, skinless thighs, drums, wings, and then we do something with the carcasses. We also can some and we grind some. So I'm going to first show you all of the different things that we have set up so it kind of works in an assembly line and we get the job done as fast as possible. Hopefully you guys can see, you're at the end of my island here. I'll point it down so you can see what's there, but usually Joe or I stand where Joe's at, then the other one over here by the sink, and we both break down the birds at the same time. But we have some baking trays here to put all the cut pieces on, so then whoever's vacuum sealing can take them from there and put them in the appropriate bags. We have a bowl for any schmutz or whatever that we're throwing away, a bowl for pieces to grind, a container with some ice in it for other cuts that maybe we're going to can or something like that. So we put the like pieces with like pieces. And we have the bottom of one of my roasters. I now have 3. Thank you, Tom and his wife, for the third one. And we put all of our carcasses in here as we're going, and then get the bone broth going right away. And we will have all 3 going by the time we're done, just to get it all out of the way. And then I will can it when it's done. Joe's going to show you how the process goes with just one. Please don't mind the rest of the kitchen. It is canning season. So he's going to pull one of them out of this cooler down here and weigh it, but he'll show you all of the stuff. We have 2 of them full of chickens and ice.
Okay, so I'm going to be tearing zeroing out the scale with this bowl, because that's where we put the chicken in to weigh it. And then we like to use the bowl to be able to maneuver around the counter so it's not getting chicken juice all over the place. So
Amen.
I'm going to put it on the counter and hit tear, and we'll zero it out. Okay, so now whatever, people don't understand that, whatever we put in the bowl now will be a true weight of whatever we put in. So what we do, we usually pull one out. We let it kind of drain a little bit so we're not putting as much water in there. Okay. Just put it in there, and we'll put it on the scale here. 6 pounds, 10 ounces.
I have to get my paper still. So usually we have a paper to write it down.
That we're writing it down. Normally I have a page that has all the 35 entries, and then we put down the weight so you can kind of get a good visualization of how much we're getting pound-wise. Okay, so then what we do is I'll do this. We usually get about 4 or 5 on a plate. We do this about 5 times, and then that way then Darcy and I can really get going butchering up. And I'm just going to show you the process with one. So usually, we'll get it over and put it on plan here. Darcy's usually at this station doing other stuff, but when she can, she'll come and help cut up. But I'll come around here. All right.
Here is where we first weigh them and write down their weights, and then they end up back here to be packaged, labeled, and vacuum sealed. Sorry for all the rustling sounds our aprons make, but they are very helpful. So I have some wide mouth quart jars sitting here so that I can put the drums in as we're going, because using the National Center for Home Food Preservation's canning, which I can put a link to me canning chicken up here, the jars aren't warm, the chicken isn't warm, it's raw packed, so I can just do it as we're going along, which is really helpful. So once all of these are full, I can just put them right in the canner. So it goes well with our flow. I'll show you how I pack them up. How many you can fit in a wide mouth quart will depend on the size of your drums that you put in one fat side down, or you can put them 2 fat side down and then put the other ones fat side up. And because this rounded chicken is a little smaller, looks like I am going to be able to fit 4 into a jar. And then we'll put a lid on that, and that will go in the canner. I'm starting to package up some of the pieces. So this is the breast here, and we're using our 4 jars vacuum seal bags for the first time. This was the first one. Here's the second one. Is great. I could have obviously cut these bags a little shorter. I'll figure it out. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but that is awesome. I am really pleased with the way this is looking. Some other bags I have used before, you wouldn't see the separation between the two pieces of meat sometimes. I really like that.
Okay, so I will put a disclaimer that I am by no means a butcher. I just know what has worked for me to get these done and as safe as possible, except for last time I decided to stab my finger and now I have no feeling in my finger. Anyway, beside the point, yeah, I just want to make sure, just learn to do your best you can and as safe as you can. And so that's, I'd love to take a butchering class sometime to really get to know where some of these cuts, you're trying to get in between the joints and stuff. Sometimes you don't hit them very well. So usually what I like to do is, I like to start off by cutting the legs and thighs off, and then I hit the wings. And then from there, I will take we like to do skinless, boneless, skinless breasts. So then we take the breasts off. So, and then from there, we'll cut any pieces of meat and stuff off that we didn't get and throw it in our scrap bowl for grinding and stuff. And then any of like I don't know, you get like jelly stuff or little pieces of skin and stuff you don't want in there, we'll throw. And maybe some feathers that we didn't get all the way, we'll throw it in our junk bowl. So,
I'll come closer.
Okay.
Starting with the legs, we'll pull that skin there and just cut so it exposes the area between the breast and the leg. You can see a line on the front and the back where the meat stops and there is a bone. We're not going to need to cut through any bone. We will just go in between the joints. So you can see the line here at the edge of the thigh and the backbone. Joe scores it there, and then you just take your knife right through. If you hold it up, it will separate that joint a little bit and you'll be able to just get your knife in between it. You do not want to cut bone with your knife. There is a line also separating the thigh and the drum. You can even see the line of fat right there. And when you cut just on the other side of that, you'll be able to separate the leg and thigh. Again, you can see the separation there with the thigh meeting the backbone. And again, gravity will help you to separate them if you hold the bird up so that you're not cutting through the joint or bone. You can see there where the joint has popped open. And now the wings, you can also see the ball right there where it is the ball and socket kind of, is going to score the skin around there. And again, you can see that joint just separate. You pull up a little bit and you can put your knife right between the two of them. You do not need to cut through any bone. It just goes right between the joints. Again, he's using gravity to separate that, and off comes the wing. He pulls off the skin because we like the boneless, skinless breast. We usually just still put that skin in with the bone broth. You can see there at the backbone, there's a line, and here a line of fat. And those are just the areas where you can cut and it starts to pull away from the bone. Here he is just putting little slices and you can start to see the rib cage
And you're taking off the tenderloin and the breast here. You can see the cartilage there at the keel bone. You want to make sure you cut on the other side of that so that you can separate that from the breast, since we're doing boneless, skinless breast. And then a couple little slices and it will fully separate. And you can divide it in two. And there you have your breast and your tenderloin. And the tenderloin, you just grab a hold of it and pull, and it comes right off. We're gonna do the same thing again. Just kind of score around that fat line. It's like, this is where you cut. And you can just separate it from the rib cage. And here he's showing the wishbone. So if you're too far up, then the wishbone will still be in that top part of the breast. So you want to make sure that you cut right around that, not cutting the bone, but getting all of that meat off. And then again, there you have the carcass that we usually cut it a little bit. Here he's showing how he's popping that, breaking that there, and then he'll cut it. And that is because we are processing so many carcasses at one time, and that allows us to fit more in the roaster. It just gives us more room. There's less wasted space. And here, again, he's showing a line. You see the line of fat between the drum and the thigh, and you just cut right on the side of that, and it makes it so you go right through the joint, between the joint of the two pieces. So you're not cutting bone, you're not having to saw through the joint, and it just comes apart nicely like that. Now we like to use thighs for a number of things, and so we do remove the skin and the bones, because we do can some of this, and we also grind some of it. So he puts his knife there under that bone and just kind of pulls and pushes forward at the same time, and it kind of rolls that thigh bone up, and it gets the majority of the meat off, and he's just cutting the extra off so he can put that in our bowl for grind. And of course the bone goes in for bone broth. There is sometimes a little piece of like cartilage at the end there, so we cut that off, and there we have our boneless, skinless thigh. For the wings, we cut the wing tips off. We do not keep those on. We put that in the bone broth. And then you just slide your knife right between the two joints of that drum and flat of the wings. Again, you do not have to cut through any bone. There's a sweet spot right in the center there, and they come right apart.
Joe and I were so involved in finishing all of those chickens yesterday that I totally forgot to sign off for this video. But that setup worked great. We got all 35 chickens done. We spatchcocked some, then others were cut into breast, wings, thighs, drums, all of that, and frozen in meal-sized portions. I also canned 7 quarts of the drums, 8 pints of thighs, and I'm going to be grinding a little bit that we had left over. And I have 3 big turkey roasters, plus I use my Instant Pot to make bone broth. That is still going for some days, and then I'll be canning that. So a lot, but I hope you guys liked seeing our setup and what we do when we process our chicken. I appreciate you watching. Until next time, God bless.
What?
Tell them what you did.
What do you mean?
What did you just tell me?
that I did for my hair for you.